If you don't understand what the fuck is happening in Iran right now, here is a quick summary of everything you need to know. To fully understand everything that's going on right now, I'm going to give you some brief historical context.
Every great empire tried to take Iran. The Greeks came. Alexander the Great conquered Persian cities and burned Persepolis to the ground, but he could not hold it. The Arabs came. They converted the population to Islam, but Iran absorbed them and became more Iranian than Arab. The Mongols came. They were the most destructive military force in human history. But Iran swallowed the Mongols whole. The British came. They controlled the oil, the banks, the trade routes, the currency. But they never put a flag on Tehran and called it theirs. The Russians came. They signed humiliating treaties. They took territory, but they never colonized Iran. Every empire in history tried to own Iran. None of them managed it. Today we explore why. This is History in the Shadow. Subscribe and follow our Facebook page. We need your support to keep bringing these rare stories to you. Let's start the story. The first reason Iran was never colonized is geography. And this is not a minor geographical advantage. This is one of the most geographically forbidding territories on Earth for any invading force that wants to stay permanently. The Iranian plateau sits at an average elevation of approximately 1,500 meters above sea level. It is surrounded on almost every side by mountain ranges of extreme difficulty. The Zagros Mountains in the west rise to over 4,000 meters. The Alborz Mountains in the north include Mount Damavand, a volcanic peak at 5,610 meters, the highest mountain in the Middle East and the highest volcano in Asia. The interior of the plateau contains two of the world's most inhospitable deserts. The Dashti Kavir, the Great Salt Desert, covers approximately 77,000 square kilometers. The Dashti Lut has recorded surface temperatures of 70.7 degrees Celsius, the highest surface temperature ever recorded on Earth. Any army entering Iran from the west faces hundreds of kilometers of mountain passes. Any army from the north must cross the Alborz Range. Any army from the east must cross deserts that have killed soldiers throughout history. The British Empire, which conquered the Indian subcontinent and large parts of Africa with relative ease, found Iran to be a country where military occupation was enormously expensive and strategically impossible to maintain permanently. Geography was the first wall, but it was only the first. The second reason is Persian administrative genius. The Achaemenid Persian Empire developed the satrapy system, provincial governance with delegated local authority operating within a unified imperial framework. This allowed the empire to govern diverse populations across enormous distances without suppressing local culture. When Alexander the Great conquered Persia in the 330s BC, he made a revealing choice. He kept the satrapy system. He adopted Persian court ceremonies. He wore Persian royal clothing. He married Persian women. He did not replace Persian administration with a Macedonian system, because he recognized that the Persian system was superior to anything Macedonia had developed. What this means in practice is that Persia did not fall when Alexander conquered it. The Persian administrative apparatus continued functioning under a new king. The Persian language continued. The Persian cultural forms continued. Alexander died in 323 BC. His empire divided. Iran went to the Seleucid dynasty, Greek rulers governing a Persian population. Within 2 centuries, Iranian peoples had expelled the Seleucids and restored Persian-speaking rule to the plateau. The pattern repeats throughout Iranian history. Invaders arrive, they conquer. They find that governing Iran requires becoming Iranian. They gradually transform, and then they are replaced by the next invader, who goes through the same process. The third reason is the Persian language itself. Persian, Farsi, is one of the oldest continuously spoken languages in the world. When the Arab armies conquered Iran in the 7th century AD, they brought Arabic, the language of the Quran, the language of commerce, the language of the new administration. In every other Arab-conquered territory, the local language was eventually replaced by Arabic. Egypt had spoken Coptic before the Arab conquest. Today, Egypt speaks Arabic. Iraq, Syria, North Africa all became Arabic-speaking. Iran did not. Iran accepted Islam. Iran adopted Arabic script to write Persian, but Iran kept speaking Persian. The Shahnameh, the Persian national epic composed by the poet Ferdowsi around 1000 AD, is approximately 60,000 verses long and is still read and memorized by Iranian schoolchildren today. Ferdowsi spent 35 years writing a poem that told the complete story of Iranian civilization in Persian, deliberately using as few Arabic words as possible. He was making a specific cultural statement. We are Iranian. We were Iranian before Islam. We will be Iranian after. The Persian language became a wall that no colonial power could easily breach. You could conquer Iran militarily. You could extract its resources. But to actually govern its population, you had to speak Persian. And once you spoke Persian, you entered a cultural world so rich and so ancient that it tended to absorb you rather than the other way around. The fourth reason is the organizational power of Iranian religious institutions. In 1891, the Iranian government granted the British Imperial Tobacco Corporation a total monopoly on all Iranian tobacco. This meant Iranian farmers had to sell their tobacco to the British company at whatever price the company offered. Iranian merchants had to buy from the British company at whatever price was set. The reaction was unlike anything the British had anticipated. Grand Ayatollah Mirza Hassan Shirazi, one of the most senior Shia religious scholars in the world, issued a religious ruling declaring that the use of tobacco was equivalent to war against the faith. In practical terms, any good Muslim who smoked was committing a sin. The Iranian population stopped smoking. Overnight, tobacco pipes were smashed. Water pipes central to Iranian social life were publicly broken. The wives of the Shah refused to serve tobacco in the royal household. Even the Shah's own palace complied with the religious ruling. The tobacco boycott worked. Within months, the British concession was cancelled. This event was extraordinary for several reasons. It was entirely nonviolent. No shots were fired. The population simply stopped using the product. It was organized through religious networks that operated completely independently of the state, and it demonstrated that Iranian civil society had the organizational capacity to defeat a British economic concession without any formal political institutions. The tobacco revolt became the direct template for the Constitutional Revolution of 1906, the oil nationalization movement of 1951, and ultimately the 1979 Islamic Revolution. The pattern of religious and civil society alliance producing successful resistance to foreign power was established in 1891 and repeated across the next 90 years. The fifth and most important reason is the specific political trauma of 1953. In 1908, oil was discovered in southwestern Iran. The Anglo-Persian Oil Company, which would eventually be renamed British Petroleum, or BP, extracted this oil under terms massively favorable to Britain. The British government owned 51% of the company and received more tax revenue from the company's British profits than Iran received in total royalties from its own oil. In 1951, Mohammad Mossadegh became Prime Minister of Iran on a platform of nationalizing the oil company. He was a nationalist, a Democrat, and a lawyer. He was elected by his parliament to take back Iranian oil from foreign ownership. Britain was furious. They imposed an economic blockade. They convinced the Western world not to buy Iranian oil. Iranian revenues collapsed. Then something happened that changed Iran permanently. The British and American governments, specifically the CIA and British Intelligence Service, MI6, organized a coup against the democratically elected Prime Minister of Iran. Operation Ajax, as the Americans called it, used bribes, propaganda, hired mobs, and corrupted military officers to overthrow Mossadegh in August 1953. The coup succeeded. Mossadegh was arrested. The Shah returned to power as an American-backed authoritarian. This single episode is the most important event for understanding Iranian politics from 1953 to the present day. The 1979 revolution, the hostage crisis, the extreme suspicion of American intentions that characterizes Iranian politics, all of it traces directly to 1953. The coup worked tactically, but it failed strategically. It permanently radicalized Iranian political culture. The Iranian population concluded that Western-style democracy was a weapon the West would only tolerate when it served Western interests. When it did not, the West would simply overthrow it. The 1979 Islamic Revolution is the definitive answer to why Iran was never colonized.
A stark
The
reminder
Shah's
of the
regime,
1953
the U.S.-backed
coup
authoritarian government that replaced Mossadegh's democracy,
or was eventually
was
expelled,
politically
not by
dependent
military
on American
superiority,
support
but by the specific
and culturally
combination of
oriented
chieftainries.
toward
Every
Western
conqueror either
modernization
became Iranian or
in
was
ways
eventually
that
expelled,
millions
not
of
by military
Iranians
superiority, but
experienced
by the
as a
specific
cultural
combination of
assault.
chieftainries.
The revolution
Every
that
conqueror either
overthrew the
became
Shah
Iranian or was eventually
not
expelled,
simply an
not by
Islamic
military
revolution.
superiority,
It was a
but by the
nationalist
specific combination
revolution
of
in
chieftainries.
Islamic form.
Every
The
conqueror
specific
either became
accusation
Iranian
that
or was
Ayatollah
eventually
Khomeini
expelled,
made
not by
against the
military
Shah,
superiority,
that he was
but by
a
the
foreign
specific
puppet,
combination of
that he had sold
chieftainries.
Iranian sovereignty
Every conqueror
to the
either became
Americans,
Iranian or was eventually
resonated
expelled,
across
not
every
by
layer
military
of Iranian
superiority,
society
but by the
precisely
specific
because the
combination of chieftainries.
1953 coup
Every
had
conqueror
proven
either
that this
became Iranian or
accusation
was
had
eventually
historical
expelled,
basis.
not by
The
military
revolution
superiority, but
established
by the
a political
specific combination
system,
of chieftainries.
the Islamic Republic,
Every conqueror either
specifically
became
designed
Iranian
to
or was
prevent the
eventually
kind of
expelled,
foreign
not by military
manipulation that had
superiority,
overthrown
but by the
Mossadegh.
specific
The
combination of
doctrine of
chieftainries.
guardianship of the Islamic
Every conqueror
jurist
either became
placed
Iranian
supreme
or was
political
eventually
authority
expelled,
in a religious
not by military
figure
superiority,
who was, by
but by the
definition,
specific
not a
combination of
foreign
chieftainries.
installed puppet and
Every
not
conqueror
removable
either
by
became
foreign
Iranian
pressure.
or was eventually
This is
expelled,
politically
not by
controversial,
military
and the
superiority,
Islamic
but by the
Republic has
specific
many
combination of
critics
chieftainries.
both inside
Every
and outside
conqueror
of
either
law.
became
But from
Iranian
a
or was
specific
eventually
perspective
expelled,
of why
not by
Iran
military
was never
superiority,
colonized,
but by the
the
specific
answer is
combination
now
of
complete.
chieftainries.
Iran
Every
was never
conqueror either
colonized
became Iranian
because
or
of
was
five
eventually
specific
expelled,
factors
not by
working
military
together
superiority,
across centuries.
but by the specific
Its
combination of
geography made
chieftainries.
permanent military
Every conqueror either
occupation
became Iranian or was eventually
enormously
expelled,
costly for
not
every
by
empire
military
that
superiority,
tried.
but
Its
by the
administrative
specific combination of
traditions
chieftainries.
gave invaders the tools
Every conqueror
to
either
govern
became Iranian
only
or
by
was eventually
becoming
expelled,
Iranian
not by
themselves.
military
Its
superiority,
language
but by the
created
specific
cultural
combination of
continuity
chieftainries.
that absorbed conquest
Every conqueror either
after
became
conquest.
Iranian or was
Its
eventually
religious
expelled,
institutional
not by
networks
military
gave
superiority,
civil
but by the
society
specific
the
combination of
organizational
chieftainries.
capacity to
Every
resist
conqueror either
economic
became Iranian or was
exploitation
eventually
without
expelled,
needing states
not by
support.
military
In the
superiority,
trauma
but by the
of
specific combination of
1953
chieftainries.
permanently
Every conqueror
radicalized
either became Iranian or was
political
eventually
culture
expelled,
against the kind
not by
of
military
foreign-friendly
superiority,
governance
but by
that
the specific
colonialism
combination of
requires.
chieftainries.
The ancient Persian
Every
Empire
conqueror
was
either
the
became
first
Iranian
state
or
in
was
history
eventually expelled,
to govern
not by military
44%
superiority,
of the
but
world's
by the
population.
specific combination
That
of
is not a
chieftainries.
civilization
Every
that was
conqueror
ever
either
going to
became
accept the
Iranian or
role
was
of someone
eventually
else's
expelled,
power.
not by
In the
military
fire temples of
superiority,
Yazd,
but by the specific
the oldest
combination of
continuously
chieftainries.
burning flame
Every
in the
conqueror
world has
either
burned
became
since
Iranian or was eventually
470
expelled,
AD.
not by
Through
military
Alexander,
superiority,
through
but
the
by the
Arabs,
specific combination
through the
of
Mongols, through the British, through every empire that tried to own this land. Still burning. The echoes of Cyrus the Great are still audible in Tehran today.